Hi, I'm Jen, and thank you for watching my paintings today. I paint abstract portraits, and today I'm painting Kate Manser. Kate, whenever you're ready, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Kate. Some days I go by Kate the Great. Other days I just go by Kate. Good
Kate the
days,
Great, I
bad
love
days.
that.
Today it's kind of like a Kate the Great day. I'm feeling pretty good.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, you look great.
Oh, thank you.
Nothing.
Yeah, I'm
I
trying to
normally don't.
incorporate more color into the
Yes,
world.
that's what I meant. I usually don't like to comment on people's appearances, but when you showed up in your yellow pants, I was like, "It's gonna be fantastic."
Yeah, some days if I wear the yellow pants and a blue shirt, I say I am the sun.
Ooh,
I am the sun.
I love that.
But yeah, I'm 36 years old. I have been loosely based in Austin for the past 10, 11, 12 years, but for the past year and a half, almost 2 years now, I've been driving around the country with my dog in an RV.
How exciting! Wow, what kind of dog?
I have a pit bull. She is white with black spots, and her name is Pajamas.
Pajamas. I love that. That's very nice. And so you said you've been in your RV for 2 years?
Yeah, I try to do things that scare me, even though they're scary. And so a lot of the choices that I've made, especially since I had kind of an awakening about 8 years ago, have been scary and have been things that have been on my, I don't know if I like the term, but bucket list. So I quit a very good job here in Austin at Google about 7 years ago, and I traveled around the world for 2 years. And I feel like I'm bragging now, but I'll just continue because let's hair flip brag for a minute.
Yes!
And yeah, so I traveled around the world. Came up with this idea. I was so inspired at the time by this awakening that I had had that I came up with the idea for a book. I eventually started this movement. I wrote and published the book, and I speak and I continue to write, and I guess now drive around the country with my dog because my dog's getting older. She's 12 now, and I always thought that I wanted to just to have this grand adventure with her. But I think we're coming to the end of RV life. I think at 2 years, like we need something without wheels under us for a hot minute.
Wow, that's fantastic. I love your I don't feel like you were bragging, you're just giving your story. I love it. That's amazing. Oh, wow. Okay, so many questions. Do you mind sharing what you did when you were at Google?
Yeah, so it was one of those things, to make a short story long, which is that I almost didn't take the job at Google, and it ended up changing my life. When I took the job, I didn't understand that Google was like this well-paid, prestigious company to work for. And so I took the job, and it was a marketing job. I started by marketing Google Places. Then I spent a while marketing the long now gone Google Plus. If anybody remembers Google's attempt at a social network, it was Google Plus. And it was awesome, and I made good money at the time, but I kind of just felt like I was on the wrong movie set.
I love that. That's so great. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. So, and you said that was about 7 years ago?
Yeah, I left Google in the beginning of 2016.
And you started there?
2011, 12.
Wow. I love that you had your awareness of Google wasn't saturated. It hadn't saturated your awareness. That's really cool.
Well, one of the things that happened, and one of the reasons that other than I felt like I was on the wrong movie set, that I realized I had to leave, was because it got to a point where I was excited when I was at a party or out and about for someone to ask me, "Oh, so where do you work?" Because then I could be like, "Oh, well, I work at this little company that maybe you've never heard of called Google." And I just give that anecdote because it was symbolic for me of realizing that I was getting a lot of my self-worth from my job.
Wow.
And I was like, that's really empty, actually. If I'm waiting for people and I can't wait to share this detail about me, to show people how cool I am because I have this cool corporate job, then my self-worth is really misplaced, and I need to go search around and find it.
Did you have a favorite surprise on your travels?
A favorite surprise on my travels.
Like, for example, when I traveled around the world, I was very pleasantly surprised by hiking a volcano for the first time and the immense gratitude I felt by witnessing such natural beauty.
Favorite moments not only in travel but in all of life,
Yeah.
when we just get dumbstruck by something, where something that we believe then gets proven wrong, or we have a new idea that blows it open. I love that like feeling of just gobsmacked humility that comes.
Yeah.
And one moment that really sticks out for me on my travels happened actually relatively early in the trip. I was on this distant island. It's actually the farthest eastern island of Indonesia. It's right next to Papua New Guinea. It's called Roti Island in Indonesia. And there were like no tourists there. I actually went there sort of to be alone, and I also sort of hoped there would be some hot surfers there. There was no waves, so it was mostly just me and the locals. So I'm walking on the beach one day, and this man and woman, this couple, are walking toward me, and we sort of pause to like nod or smile. And the lady notices this beautiful beaded bracelet that I had bought when I was just in Bali. And so we can't speak the same language, but she's sort of pointing, saying that bagus is the Indonesian word for beautiful. She's like, bagus, bagus. And so I took the bracelet off and I gave it to her. And she was really grateful. And they had these amazing, if you ever go to Indonesia, make sure you eat the peanuts there. They're the best peanuts you'll ever eat in your life. So they had these fresh roasted peanuts that they had probably grown, and they were handing me peanuts because they were so grateful that I had given her this bracelet. And we're sort of, the whole, we don't speak the same language, speaking but not speaking. And then they grab my hand and they start taking me up the beach, and I get the gist that we're going to their house. And I'm like, you have to, when you're doing that by yourself, especially as a female traveler, you have to be very aware of your intuition and are there any warning bells going off? But we felt cool. Kate felt like this is gonna be good. So I followed them into their house, which was right on the beach in this small island, and they plopped me in a chair. And it was a dirt floor, and I'm plopped in this wooden chair, and there's a single light bulb hanging from a chain and one single bed. And there must have been 9 people in there that lived in that house. And before I know it, there is a baby in one of my arms, and in the other arm was a cup of hot Indonesian coffee. And they're just fawning over me. They're just the kids are showing me their teddy bear, and the adults are asking me questions that I can't understand. They're showing me this weaving work that they do. And I just felt so welcomed in their home, which was incredibly simple. I mean, it was essentially, I don't really like to use this word, but a shack. It had a dirt floor. It was kind of cinder block and a thatched roof, the one single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. And I left there that afternoon, first of all, totally humbled by their hospitality. And second of all, realizing how many missed opportunities I had, because I used to live in downtown Austin, and it was basically a studio. It was really, really small. But I always felt, my place is too small. I can't invite people over. If someone came to stay with me, I don't really have an extra bed, and I don't know if they'd feel comfortable sleeping in my bed when I sleep. I just had all these reasons to not invite people and welcome them into my home. But ever since that day, that those people with a dirt floor and a single hanging light bulb invited me into their home and made me feel like a queen, I realized that it's not about what we have, it's about what we give. And that's the travel story that we hope for, I think, when we travel, and that I'll never forget for the rest of my life.
And since you've undergone like all this change, what's something you do daily that is different from what you didn't do before, or what you did do before?
I think about every day, at least for one moment, or in a passing thought, or as I make a tough decision, or as I'm deciding how to respond to a particular interaction in my life, I think about how I'm going to die. And I think about how I don't know how long I have, and I allow that to help me make tough decisions and pop myself out of decision paralysis and figure out what my priorities are when things are crazy, and to remind myself to be courageous and to let my true self shine through. But thinking about death is really, there's a lot of other things I do, meditation, that positively impact my life since I've had my awakening, but thinking about death is the biggest.
Wow. That's like complete opposite for me. I never thought I'd live this long. So now that I never thought I'd live to be 40. So I'm 42 now. And I'm like, well, chances are I'm going to hang out for another 40 years. Got to figure out what I'm going to do.
Yes! Bonus years.
Yeah. Right? This is a great equalizer. Yeah.
Yes, it is.
That's fantastic.
Yes, it is. Love the ocean.
Yeah. Have you been down to Galveston?
I went to Port Aransas once, and it was shortly after I moved from Santa Barbara.
Okay.
And I don't recommend that you go to Port Aransas shortly after you move to from Santa Barbara and think that you're just going to the beach. It's like, it's lovely there. It is lovely there. But when you have the Santa Barbara beach in your mind and then you get to Port Aransas, you're like, whoa, what's happening here? What's happening here? I need to like reassort my reality. Which actually, the reassortment of reality makes me think of something that I think is growing in awareness right now, but not a lot of people know about, which is many of us have heard of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, right?
Yeah, sure.
And typically when one of the reasons, and I am actually just starting my master's in psychology, but I am not a degreed psychologist right now, so take this with every grain of salt that you will. However, I've done a lot of research into this, and when we have PTSD, let's say someone dies, and we didn't know, like that year that I was in deep death anxiety, I think that was a form of PTSD, because my assumption of reality that I was going to get to live to be 87, we'll say 88 because 8's my lucky number, that I was going to get to live to be 88 was totally blown up. And so I was left just not understanding life and death and how long I was going to get to live, and I felt very unsafe in that reality. But there is also something called PTG, which is called post-traumatic growth, which is a phenomena that can occur, and I definitely believe it occurred within me, which is that when we are in post-traumatic stress or some form of trauma, and all of the shards of our assumed reality are at our feet, PTG is then our ability to reassemble our worldview based on that new information. So for me, I was like, oh my gosh, I can die at any moment. That's terrifying. But then I was able to reassemble my worldview saying, okay, death is something that will happen to everyone. And yes, I don't know when it's going to happen. Neither does anyone else. And actually, death can be very motivating. It can create this clarity and this motivation and this urgency. And so I was able to reassemble my worldview with death and the mystery of death as something that I could understand and can rely on. And that's where PTG, post-traumatic growth, occurs, is when we can reassemble that reality and in almost all cases become better for it. Become stronger, have a better understanding of the world and ourselves.
So is there something that you practice, like when you're feeling blue, to help you focus on the human being versus the human doing? Like, to help, is there something that you do to like help bring yourself up, elevate your...
Oh yeah. The two main things that I have found helped me just on a daily basis, if I'm feeling down or if I am like getting in a darker, drab place.
Right.
Number one is I have what I call alive moments.
Okay.
And I believe that alive moments can come spontaneously when, sometimes you're just walking your dog around your neighborhood and you see this really beautiful tree, and then you look down at your dog and then you feel the breeze on your skin and you're like, oh my God, life is beautiful and I'm alive. And that's an alive moment where we have this like meta awareness that we're alive and life is beautiful, and like it's sometimes it brings tears to your eyes because it's also magnificent.
Yes.
But I also believe that we can cultivate alive moments, and that's what I'm talking about, these everyday transcendent experiences that we talked about earlier, which is like, if we are having a hard time, we're feeling empty, or we're having a tough day, we can take a moment to look out the window. For me, looking at the sky or looking at nature really gets me there.
Gotcha.
But looking at that and just observing like how beautiful the sky is, or looking at a shard of light as it comes through your window onto the ground, and we can just start to say, you know what, this is a tough moment, but there's still so much beauty in the world, and I'm alive, and let's keep going, right? Like the little, that alive moment pep talk.
Yes.
So those are the alive moments, the spontaneous ones, and the ones we create. And then the other way that I bring myself out of a dark place, and it happened for me around January 1st this year. I was in one of the darkest places of my life. Like I said, like we were not good. Kate was not good. And suddenly I realized, not suddenly, but over the span of a short amount of time, I realized like, I'm really tired of swimming around in my own crap. Like, honestly, I just like, I'm thinking how everything in my life is terrible. Nothing is working out. Everything sucks. Nobody loves me. I'm so alone. And that was when I realized that the second way to get myself, and maybe this might resonate with you as well, out of a dark place, is to manually change our minds toward positivity and stop thinking those negative thoughts and force ourselves to think positive thoughts even when it's frustrating. And I like to think about it like a big old barge. You got a big old barge on the open ocean, and when you're going to turn a barge, it don't just like take a right. Don't just like flip a Louis. When you're turning a barge, you have to turn, and it takes this big 90-degree thing. And when you're in a dark place and your mind is wired for negative thinking, that's
hard.
That's hard. It's moving the barge. It's going to be slow and creaky and painful, and you're going to want to just keep going the way that you were. But that is one truth that I learned, at least for me this year, was I had to do the reps. It's like lifting weights of redirecting my negative thoughts to positive thoughts, redirecting my negative thoughts to peaceful thoughts, and doing that over and over again rewired my brain. It kind of rewired my spirit, and it's not sexy work, but I'm here to tell you that I was in one of the darkest places of my life, and I sit here today in one of the best places of my life. Yes. And I'm sure I'll go down again, and I'll have to turn the barge once more.
Yes. Okay. So like what was the term you used? Manual adjustment?
Oh yeah.
Like, is that what you said?
It's a manual adjustment. It's like, we can't wait because since when I was really, really down, when I was depressed until now, not that much about my life circumstances have changed. It wasn't external stuff that got better. It was me just deciding I was tired of swimming around in my own negativity, and that I was ready to do the work to get out.
And so like, are we talking like affirmations that you repeat to yourself, or are we talking like what you said, going out into nature to manually change your outward experience, or or both? Or
I think it's a lot of things. For me, I definitely didn't do it alone. I hired a coach. I visited a medium. I have my therapist, who I absolutely adore and have been seeing for a long time. It was also getting out into nature. It's also just really trying to notice when I was thinking, nobody loves me, nobody cares about me, nothing's going to work out, and being like, that's not reasonable. Turn the barge towards, it's possible it might work out. Just hope for the best. Keep going. I also do like to do, I do tapping, as well as I'm doing my tapping, I do some affirmations and like, I am limitless. I have the possibility to be profoundly happy, whatever comes up for you. So it wasn't just one thing, but it is getting the support system together, and then doing the reps to change the mind, because I do think it's a spiritual shift, but I also think it's a neural shift, getting all those negative neural connections to rewire into positive neural connections.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, it's just like uh, learning a new language. Like rewires your brain. So like 15 minutes a day will make a difference.
Oh yeah.
That's yeah, so true. I love that. Did you say manual adjustment? Is that the phrase you
Yeah,
used?
I think we could come up with a better name.
Okay.
And now you're inspiring me to
Yeah.
turn the barge is what is
Okay,
how I
turn the
call
barge.
it. But it's essentially just a manual adjustment, even when it's painful, even when it's creaky.
Yeah.
And eventually though, the cool thing is it goes from being a turn the barge
Yeah.
to once we start doing it and putting in the reps of forcing ourselves out of negative thinking, then it becomes like turning a jet ski after a while, because the neural connections, they start mating, or I'm not a neurologist, but
Yeah.
they're there and it's easier for them to connect. And so then I went from, oh, I have to think a positive thought.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Kate, like think about, and then eventually as I kept doing that, it's like, oh, I just notice I'm thinking that nobody cares about me, nobody loves me. That's not true, Kate.
Right.
People love you. You love you. You have a dog named Pajamas who loves you.
Yeah.
And then it becomes like this, oh, I just turned the jet ski towards positivity. It does get easier.
Yeah. And so, yeah, what was really helpful for me in my journey of overcoming that was recognizing my patterns for like what leads up to a depressive spell.
Yep.
And what of those patterns are in my control, like that kind of thing. Yeah. There's a lot of ways to move a barge.
Yeah.
You just have
you can put it on a tow truck.
Yeah.
Another barge can push another
There you
barge.
go.
You can turn it.
a big wave
Yeah.
to
Oh,
come.
I love this. We've just totally blown that open now. And it's like, yeah, any way you can move the barge,
Yeah.
move it.
Yeah. If you need a wave to move the barge, then put yourself in line for a wave,
Yeah.
right?
Or call somebody up and say, I need a wave.
Yeah.
Right? Like, be my wave.
Yeah. That's key. Yeah.
It's not easy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you ready?
I think I'm ready.
Okay.
Yeah. You're going to make me cry.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
Oh, I'm so glad you like it. I mean, you're really beautiful, so it makes sense that a portrait of you would be beautiful.
It's so soft. It's so funny because I usually feel like I'm such a hard, brash person, but this painting is really, it's bright colors, but it's really also soft, and it's really touching my heart.
Good. Yeah. I usually try not to blend the colors, but you like I said, are a spitfire, and sometimes I just couldn't keep up.
Thank you so much.
Yes, my
Jenny.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching, and thank you, Kate.
It's an absolute honor. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm so glad that you like it.
It really is just, it's amazing. I'm so grateful to hang it up.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
can't wait. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
But yes,
Oh
I have
my
a
gosh.
gift for you. Just thank you for this unique experience. Truly, I've never done anything like this
Oh
before.
my gosh.
And like I said, this is what I encourage everyone to do, which is to just
Yeah.
let our freak flags fly, make
Yes.
things up as we go, and follow our
Yes.
passions. And so
Oh
that's
my
what living like you
gosh.
might die tomorrow is all about.
Oh
So
my gosh. Thank you so much. I love it. Can I give you a hug?
yes, please.
Ah.
Yeah.